You ever had one of those plans that just takes forever to happen? Well, let me tell you about this story. It's about a reunion, a trip that was decades in the making, and it almost didn't even happen. But this is way more than just a travel story. It's about friendship, time, and those totally unexpected moments that end up defining everything.
Yeah, that line, right there, it says it all, doesn't it? 30 years. I mean, think about that. That is a long time to wait. It just perfectly frames this whole story around a reunion that was seriously overdue. What kind of friendship waits 3 decades for a trip? Well, let's dive in.
So after a 30-year wait, you'd think everybody would be jumping for joy, right? Well, not exactly. Believe it or not, this whole thing started with a bit of reluctance. Our storyteller, he really wasn't all that excited to go.
And you can see the two sides of it right here. On one hand, he was kind of like, I've been there, done that. He'd just been to Yogyakarta recently. But then this one little piece of information completely flipped the script. His friend he died tells him their other buddy, Mole, is going to be there. And that would be the first time all three of them had ever traveled together. That was the game changer.
And here's why that was such a big deal. You see, this wasn't just some casual group of friends. They go way back, all the way to high school. They even started the cooking club together. The narrator and Ade had traveled a bunch, but the full trio? Nope, never happened. This trip was about finally making that happen.
All right, so the trip is officially a go. With decades of friendship backing them up, these three guys finally start heading to one city for a reunion that was, just 30 years in the making.
And look at how it all starts. It's not some grand movie-style reunion. It's real. It's simple. Arriving at a train station, grabbing some cheap fried rice, checking into a kind of quirky hotel. It's in these little everyday moments that they started to piece together something really special.
And you gotta love this. Every great adventure needs an inside joke, right? The guy who organized the trip, Ade, he called it the Poor Trip. So, naturally, he gets a new nickname, Captain Miskin, which basically means Captain Poor. The whole thing was kept pretty hush-hush, which just made their long-awaited trip even more fun.
Okay, now let's get to the moment where this trip took a totally unexpected turn. This is where a simple reunion really became something else, something much deeper. So picture this. The three of them are at a bar, finally all together. And the conversation just goes there. You know how it is with people you've known forever? The walls come down, they're being brutally honest about their lives, their friendship, and they're even learning new things about each other after all this time. It was just one of those pure, unfiltered moments of connection. And then, right in the middle of that deep, heartfelt moment, bam, everything changes. The ground literally starts to shake. A medium-level earthquake hits, right then and there.
Now for our narrator, this was a completely new, totally surreal experience. His very first earthquake, ever. He said it was just a blur, this fast, confusing, shaky interruption. Can you imagine the whiplash? Going from this moment of deep emotional connection to just sudden physical chaos.
And then, once the shaking stops and they realize they're okay, Andy comes out with this perfectly timed, sarcastic line. It just perfectly sums up the beautiful chaos of it all. Remember, this is the guy who was worried he might get bored. Yeah, I don't think that was a problem anymore. So, what do you do the day after your first earthquake? Well, the adventure kept going. And they did this amazing job of mixing nostalgia for the past with creating brand new memories.
This part is just so cool. They meet up with another old friend, and they decide to recreate a photo they took way back in 1997. Think about that for a second. Sitting on a couch, striking the same pose, but now they're in their mid-40s. They literally bridged a 2-decade gap in a single snapshot.
And something really interesting came out of all their talks. They had this realization about routines. When you're stuck in the day-to-day grind, it's so easy to just go on autopilot. You stop really thinking. But travel, seeing old friends, getting a new perspective, that's what snaps you out of it. It forces you to actually be present.
And in between all the deep philosophical talks, there was plenty of room for just plain fun. Ide finally reveals his secret side quest. He wants to go see this famously ugly white tiger statue in a city called Kadiri. It's such a random, funny goal, and it just perfectly captures the spirit of their whole trip. And then things got even weirder. Another friend shows up with healing cigarettes. Seriously. Apparently they were fermented with spices and came with this laundry list of health benefits. Good for high blood pressure, makes you slim. Oh, and the best part, you could apparently eat the ashes. You just can't make this stuff up.
But all good things have to wind down. Their time together in Yogyakarta was coming to an end, but the adventure itself, that was far from over. So after one last night together, it was time for goodbyes. The next morning, our narrator gets dropped off at the airport to fly home, while his friends, Ide and Mul, they hit the road to continue their trip, on their way to finally see that infamous, ugly tiger.
And here's where you see the complete turnaround. The guy who was reluctant to even go on this trip in the first place ends it with this thought. It wasn't just a blast, it was this powerful moment to look back and really, truly cherish how much their friendship meant.
And that's really what it all boils down to, isn't it? After all the years, all the distance, all their differences, the foundation was still so simple. They were just three friends who genuinely cared about each other. It's a pretty powerful reminder of what real friendship is.
So as we wrap up this amazing story of earthquakes and old friends, it leaves you with something to think about. It's not really about the destination, but about the connections we hold on to. So here's the question. What friendships in your life are worth that kind of weight?